on this, the dassault and the Rafale deal that India has signed. We have with us D. Raghunandan, who's been once upon a time in his earlier avatar was in Hindustan Aeronautics Limited as an aeronautical engineer, and now he's been an observer on the scene for quite some time. Analyst, observer for NewsClick at least. Raghu, the latest report which has come that the choice of Anil Ambani's company, which was acquired actually just a few days before the agreement being signed, this really was a choice made by the government of India and forced upon the French. And it was not a choice made by the French. And erstwhile President Hollande has said this because it was made to appear because Ambanis did a film with his partner, therefore somehow Hollande is the one who foisted this on the government of India. Right. That this is what he has contested. That it was an attempt to drag him into this, shall we say, in this particular episode. That his reaction has been.
I think it was an attempt to get him to back off, which has backfired. Okay. I think the government here must have thought if they raise this bogey about Hollande, then Hollande, in the interests of his partner, would back off. I think that was the game plan, but it has backfired.
Even to say he had already said this earlier?
No, he hadn't said this earlier, but it was an attempt to preempt that, thinking they'll get him off the books by bringing this up, saying that, if you say something, then we'll rake up that. But it seems to have backfired and made him come out with this statement. Now, clearly, as far as the government is concerned here, this is a bombshell, because our defense minister, government spokesman, finance minister Jaitley, all those who have been going out of their way to defend the government's actions on the Rafale deal, have made it a point to say that Ambani was not chosen by us. Reliance was not chosen by us, it was chosen by the French. This was a commercial deal between two parties, offset deal, and we have always taken a back seat on this, so we were not done. However, I think it would be clear to any observer of the scene, and particularly to observers of the high-tech manufacturing sector and the aviation sector in particular, that there is no way a company of the size, scale and reputation of Dassault would have chosen a brand new entrant not only into the aviation sector but into the manufacturing sector.
They claim to have other expertise for putting things together. This was an existing company which was acquired by Anil Ambani, as you know.
See, the Anil Ambani's entry into defense was because of his acquisition of the Pipavav shipyard, which he now uses to say that we've had a lot of experience in defense. None of that is his or any of the people associated with this company, which was recently floated. And of course, the telling part of it is that none of the offsets which Anil Ambani's company is going to get for the Rafale have anything to do with the Rafale aircraft at all. And it is highly spurious of the defense minister to say that government had nothing to do with choice of offset partners. There is no way in which a deal of this magnitude, with offsets of this magnitude ranging in somewhere around 20,000 crores or thereabouts, would be done without the government playing some role in choosing the offsets partner.
Is it the argument that Anil Ambani accompanying Prime Minister Modi was just a coincidence?
Well, it's a very, very strange coincidence. It's a 1 in a million coincidence then.
that they were on the same flight.
They were on the same flight going to the same event, and then he just happened to get the contract afterwards.
You said that Hollande has come out with the refuting the government of India and the defense minister. But Dassault has also given some indication backing up Nirmala Sitharaman earlier, that this was not apparently the government of India's decision, but only their decisions. How do you read it in light of what Mr. President Hollande has said?
See, I don't take Dassault's assertion seriously because Dassault is a commercial company interested in seeing that this deal goes through. This deal depends on the goodwill of the government of India, and Dassault cannot say something which goes against the government's line. So if the government says Dassault identified Reliance, Dassault is bound to say yes. However, President Hollande, who presided over the entire deal to begin with, has been very clear in how it transpired that this was identified Reliance. Dassault is bound to say yes. However, President Hollande, who presided over the entire deal to begin with, has been very clear in how it transpired that this was pushed on him by the government of India, and that all Dassault did was enter into commercial discussions with Reliance, not in terms of the choice. So Dassault's rebuttal, I'm afraid, is pure boilerplate denial for public consumption because they don't want to be on the wrong side of the government of India.
Any contractor would do
That's
that
right.
to
Exactly.
bail out the principal,
Exactly.
as it were. I'm sure Bofors would have given similar certificates
Sure.
a number of times to
Yeah.
Rajiv Gandhi as well.
Yeah.
Other issue which has also made headlines is also the defense minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, claiming that HAL did not have the ability to do it. Of course, it begs the question, did Anil Ambani's company have the ability to do it? But leaving that out, HAL has been, and you have been in Hindustan Aeronautics once upon a time, HAL has been partners to various deals of this kind, and this from starting from the MiGs to the other aircraft,
Right.
including the Mirage, again the French this Mirage, all of this. And this inability of Hindustan Aeronautics Limited to be able to indigenize, is it the first time we are hearing about this?
I mean, this is absolutely astounding. As you said, there were the MiG-29s, and Hindustan Aeronautics has made 200 engines, operated engines for the MiG-29 series. HAL has assembled more than 70 of the Mirage 2000 aircraft, also manufactured by Dassault. It undertook a serious upgrade of these aircraft. It continues to license manufacture the advanced jet trainer from British Aerospace. It set up a dedicated new helicopter facility outside of Bangalore where it's making hundreds of helicopters. This is a company which you say doesn't have the ability to manufacture, what, 100 or so of Rafales. And on top of that, she has said that, look, the rate of delivery of HAL has been very slow. Even the IAF chief has said this. The Rafale deal now of 36 aircraft are being delivered to India at a leisurely pace of 12 aircraft per year.
Starting with 2022,
Right.
first one.
Right. And HAL was criticized by the Air Force for starting with a schedule of delivering 12 Tejas light combat aircraft, which it has now stepped up to 18. Apart from everything else that HAL is doing, there is no problem in HAL's capacity to deliver. And recently, the chairman, the retired chairman and managing director of HAL, Suvarna Raju, has come out saying we had worked out a work share agreement. Detailed plans had been worked out for how HAL would undertake the work in India. The only glitch was two issues. Dassault said we will not take responsibility or guarantee for aircraft manufactured by HAL. And HAL said no problem, we will stand guarantee for them. The second issue was price. And HAL did have a higher man-hour calculation which made their price slightly higher. And Suvarna Raju has clarified that this is bound to happen since Dassault obviously has more advanced technologies, higher productivity manufacturing facilities, and if the government had really wanted, they could have made an upfront investment for the infrastructure in HAL so that HAL could have stepped up the rate of manufacture, and they could have recovered it over time. So
Basically, the capital investment that HAL had to make had to be recovered from the cost of the
That's right.
aircraft.
That's right. So it's no big deal.
That's an obvious issue, and if the government did not want that to happen,
Exactly.
they should have been forthcoming on that.
Exactly.
In any case, these Rafale planes, this 36, we already know the cost has really gone up through the roof. So let this government not talk about the about the cost,
Quite.
because with the earlier cost and this cost, the huge difference that is there, we're not even discussing that today.
Quite right.
So the cost is really not the issue here. So it's interesting that a company which was in the public sector under the defense ministry,
Exactly.
because it's important.
Precisely.
HAL is under Nirmala Sitharaman's ministry,
Precisely.
and therefore it's in fact she is speaking against a company which is under her.
And in fact, if you ask me, this false claim to be a hands-off onlooker of the government, HAL and dassault were negotiating. They couldn't come to an agreement, therefore the deal collapsed. Offsets, dassault is having an agreement with Reliance. Government has nothing to do with this. This is specious. It's not the way Government of India works, and you know this very well in this country. Any public sector undertaking, if the chairman has to sneeze, he has to take permission from Government of India. There's nothing here that happens without the government's say so. And the government should have been taking a proactive role in ensuring that HAL and dassault strike an effective contract, because it's in the nation's interest to build self-reliance.
And transfer of technology,
So
etc.
there's no question of government taking a back seat in this.
And also it's important, since we've already discussed this earlier, that this agreement with Anil Ambani's company actually involved no indigenization of the aircraft itself, no transfer of technology. The offset was supposed to be in completely different areas. So therefore, India was not gaining technologically from this deal at all, which is not what would have happened if the partnership would have been with HAL, because then at least HAL would have got access to more advanced technology, upgraded their skills.
And in fact, I want to make a point about this offsets also. This business of Government of India taking a back seat and allowing the offsets to be a commercial deal between the original equipment manufacturer and an Indian partner is not what the offsets were designed for. Offsets are designed in order for India to acquire technologies, which has to be done with a strategic planning vision. Which technologies do I prioritize? Where are the gaps? Which technology should I acquire? Therefore, you plan the offsets in a certain way. And this requires an active role of the government. This is not just a commercial deal. So in fact, the government should be taking a proactive role and not take the stance of allowing it to be a commercial deal, because that's not the purpose of the offsets at all.
As we have discussed earlier, that this is the difference between make in India and made in India.
Absolutely.
That made in India meant that you had to absorb the technology, indigenize it, so that you could go to the next level.
Quite.
Make in India means just come and assemble
Just a
it
commercial
here. That's all.
transaction.
The other last point, all of us know, and this is, shall we say, not the best kept secret in the world, that prime ministers and presidents act as essentially as people who sell arms. In fact, whenever such a big arms deal is involved, it's actually between the top politicians of the countries concerned, because this scale of deals obviously means both sides' political leadership has to be involved. So therefore, as you have said already, that to pretend that this was a private arrangement is completely bogus.
Absolutely.
Not when presidents and prime ministers are involved.
And especially when you have abandoned what was a tender process to begin with in favor of a government-to-government contract. You have made it a deal between two governments. And then to say that the government is not involved in it, it makes no sense.
I think more and more as skeletons keep tumbling out of the closet, and this time with the defense minister really taking on two major claims in recent days, both of which seem to have been controverted publicly. I think this government will find it increasingly difficult to defend itself from this particular deal, the Rafale deal. And it shows signs of becoming what the Bofors deal was for the Congress once upon a time.